I wanted to welcome everybody for joining us today. This is a Q&A session for the Workforce Development Training Fund program, and then basically helping you all learn some of the changes that were put in place. And if any of you have gotten into the applications and started working on those applications, hopefully we can answer any questions that you might have. This is also going to be a high-level tour of our website, just to help you get familiar with our website so you know where to go to find things. And then we want to be able to have time at the end to be able to just answer any questions that you have, because that's why we have this set up for you. I will introduce myself. My name is Sharon Geisler, and I am Program Manager for the Workforce Development Training Fund. I do have other team members on here as well. And so if there's questions that come up that they're able to answer, or I pass off to them, then that's what they're doing, is helping with this component. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you can really get familiar with what all is here. And we're just going to go through it section by section. And hopefully as we do that, it will answer a lot of your questions for our reopening that we have going on right now. And then, like I said, we'll just open it up for other things. So the easiest way to get to the Workforce Development Training Fund site is if you are just looking for the dws.yo.gov, and I will have one of my team members, either Johnny or Savannah, if you could take that website and just put it into the chat for everybody to access. This is the easiest way to remember to get to it. And then if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see that the Workforce Development Training Fund is here as well. You're certainly welcome to save this website as a bookmark for you to access. We have been working over the last few weeks in getting this updated with all of the new things that are happening and the new parameters that we're putting in place for the grants. And so there's a little bit of information here about that pause, and that we are accepting applications right now for business training grants and internship grants. We open that window on Monday, May 1st, and we will keep this window for applications to be submitted open until May 7th. And that's the intent going forward, is that each month we're going to open it for those first 7 days of that month for people to be able to submit applications that are in the future. Hopefully at least 30 days, at least for the business training grants, as that is a requirement. And then we'll review the applications after that window has closed. I do want you to note that while we do still have the grant rules that were put in place, we did some emergency rules last year to expand the amount that we were able to fund, and they did become the regular rules. I think it was in August. And those rules are still in place. However, they are referencing the maximum amount that was allowed at that time. And we want to let you know that we have put some new parameters on what we're able to reimburse and some other components of the grants. And we'll talk about those today. And then they will also be apparent as you go into the applications and start completing an application. You'll see that those new parameters are what are being supported through the application. So we're going to scroll down here just a little bit more. You're certainly welcome to go into the business training grant if you have an account already set up and create an application and save it. You can also go into the internship application and create one and save it. And then you can submit it when you're ready. Right now, like I said, the window of opportunity is available for you to submit those applications. We're just accepting business training grants and intern grants this month while we do the reopening, just to make sure that we have everything in place that we need. And then we'll be opening up the window for applications for the apprenticeship grant, the pre-hire economic development training grant, and the pre-obligation grant in June. And again, it'll be for the first 7 days in June. So as we go further down, there are some things that we want you to be aware of. We are only looking at applications that are fully complete, and that is with all of the requested supporting documentation attached as well. And so if somebody doesn't quite finish it and submits it by accident, we're not going to be able to review it. So you do want to make sure it is complete. And I want to let you know that we may not necessarily be able to approve all the applications that are submitted. And some of them, if the training is further out, we may end up sending it back to you and denying it and letting you know that you could resubmit in a later window of opportunity if the training is still applicable and you still have that 30-day window, so that we can really focus on the ones that have training coming up sooner, and then give you another opportunity to apply later in another window. We are looking at preferred industries as we're looking at applications. It doesn't mean that the non-preferred industries aren't going to be considered. They will. We just will be looking at preferred industries as one of our components in approval. You will have to be in good standing at the time that you submit your application. If you have just recently registered and it's still pending, or if there's anything that would prevent it from being in good standing, you definitely want to address that first before you submit any applications. And this is that bullet here letting you know that if your application gets denied because of the limited funding that we have available, and that training can occur later in other months, then you can certainly resubmit that at a later date. We are asking that you give us time after the window of applications has closed, which in this situation, it would be the 7th of May. It's a Sunday. We will start reviewing them on Monday. And so if you haven't heard from us in about 2 weeks after we close the window, you can certainly send us an email just to see if it was received in the status. And we'll let you know, confirm that it did in fact get received if we have it. As you know, since you're on the session for today, we do have Q&A sessions for this very reason, to help you understand our grant program and then answer any questions that you may have. We do have another one coming up on the 23rd of May. It's another Tuesday. And this can help really get people prepared for the next month, that window of opportunity in June. And also help answer questions about those other grants that will be opening in June as well. If you haven't had a chance to join us in a Q&A, or the timing doesn't work for you, you can certainly click here and go back and look at previously recorded videos of our Q&As, and it's loading slowly. And so I would probably just focus on the last one that is really referencing the new parameters that we have in place. These older recordings aren't applicable anymore. So then as you go down, this is really just telling you about our program. It is a unique Wyoming-based program that we have funding on a biennium basis for these grants, really to help businesses with their training needs. And so these are the 4 main grants that we offer, and we'll talk a little bit about each of those. And then below this little video, you'll notice the preferred industries. You'll hear us talking about that a lot. Those are set by the Wyoming Workforce Development Council, and this is a link to their website. And it's really based around the next generation partnerships that they've put in place in order to grow and enhance these industries. And so that's why they want to make sure that there is some preference to those applications. In general, our program does fall under the Business Training and Support Unit. And then we do have a main phone number here for you to call with questions. And we have a main email here for you to send questions or any type of communications to our program. As you can imagine, we have been pretty busy and will be busy with those application reviews. So email is probably the best way to reach out to us, but you are certainly welcome to call, and if needed, to leave a voicemail. As we go over here to the left side, you'll notice that we have different links to the different grants that we offer. And I'll just start from the top. So we do have an apprenticeship grant, which is opening next month. And this grant is specific to registered apprenticeship programs here in Wyoming, and for the training component that that program requires. And so that could potentially cover tuition, registration, class materials, things like that. We are currently working on whether that grant, those parameters need to be changed in any way. And so that's why we're waiting until June to get that open. We're hoping that we'll be able to get an application link up and going for you towards middle to end of May, so that you could start working on an application to be able to submit it that first week. And when we do, we'll have that link right here. And it'll be a live link to a Google application that you'll be able to go in and start creating and working on, and then submit it that first day of June. We do have Ivy Moore here on staff that is our apprenticeship guru, and she can help you with all things about your apprenticeship questions, things like that. But she also focuses on federal funding opportunities for apprenticeships here in Wyoming. And so she really dives in on apprenticeship programs and is able to help you with questions. Her phone number is listed here. And we do still have the DWS Wdtf email to send your questions, and then those will get to Ivy to help you out with that. Our next grant is the business training grant. And this is one that has been around for some time and most people are familiar with. And so we do have a link to the rules here. Again, keeping in mind that some of the parameters of those rules have changed. And we'll talk about those a little bit here. The purpose of this grant is really listed in these bullets, and it's here to help people. Let's see if I can get that person admitted.
I'm taking care of admitting the people, Sharon.
Okay, so then let me clear my screen here. These bullets help you understand the intent of this grant. We want to be able to help Wyoming businesses train up their workforce, whether it's correcting a skill deficiency or giving them some new skills in the professional development. We are looking at training that is a direct relationship to that trainee's occupation or craft. And we do want to make sure that the training is providing an enhancement to the business productivity, helping to reduce employee turnover, and really just helping them be more effective. The areas that you'll see where the new parameters are most impactful, we have made some changes to the dollar amounts that we're able to approve. So if you, as a Wyoming business, each of your employees, including owners and managers and such, are eligible for up to $2,000 per fiscal year, which starts July 1st. And so they have this fiscal year that they are continuing to use their funding, and then it does start over for July 1st. And then those businesses that are in the preferred industries, they're eligible for up to $3,000 in a fiscal year. And then the business is going to be eligible for up to $75,000 for their training needs for all of their trainees. And this dollar amount, you'll see that it's implemented in the grant system as of July 1st, because we weren't able to switch this in the middle of the fiscal year. So you'll see when you're applying that you'll have a different dollar amount for your business availability, but this will be current as of July 1st. In this section, we do have a lot of links here to help you navigate your grant and to get what you need to be able to meet the eligibility requirements. The action items can walk you through, but these items are also listed down here below. Some things that are helpful for when your trainees go to training is we have some forms, some templates that we're suggesting that they take with them, because verification of attendance is a component that they will need to provide after the training has been completed. And so we have some forms here to help you with that. We also have a final report checklist so that you can be familiar with what you need to be in place in order for you to get your reimbursement after the training time period has completed and the employment time period has been completed. All of our grants are reimbursement models. And so you would be responsible for that initial outlay of the cost, and then you would be able to submit for the approved expenses to get reimbursed after the eligibility requirements have been met. So these steps will walk you through, if you're not already set up in the business training grant system, what you need to do in order to have that happen. Step one, again, is that you do have to be in good standing with these entities before you are able to submit any applications. And also when you're setting up an account, we will look for the good standing for these, that will have to be done first. And then step two is we'll walk you through how to create an account in our grant system. There is a link here to a manual that gives you written directions with some screenshots. And then while you're doing that, You'll also want to get set up as a vendor with the state auditor's office so that you can get your reimbursements. And here are the directions on how to make sure that that happens. And then finally, once all that is in place, you're able to go into the grant system, which is this link right here. And you will be able to create your account using this button. And then once your account has been verified and activated and you're ready to go, then you'll be able to log in either with your Google login, or you can put your email address and your password and log in, and then you'll be able to create applications. We do keep this important message section updated. And so before you log in, once you get to this landing page, you'll want to just take a quick peek at these important messages just to make sure that you're current on what you need to know. And then there's just some additional information to help you as you navigate the business training grants. Going back up over here, we do have some frequently asked questions and some helpful hints that we are in the process of updating. So we'll have those up there as soon as we're able. And then we have our internship grant. And so this is also a reimbursement model where you will pay your interns as employees, and then you'll be able to submit pay stubs. On a regular basis, we ask that you can send them in at least on a monthly basis so that we can get you reimbursed and not necessarily wait to the end of the internship. We have found that that's pretty detrimental to making sure that all the paperwork is in place.
And then that way, when you send it to Dawn, you can copy.
The internship grant is intended to provide a short-term learning work experience for individuals that would benefit the individual to gain that work experience, but also could potentially benefit the business by having somebody there on a short-term basis doing projects and doing things. But it's really meant to be a learning opportunity where that intern has a mentor working with them, supervision, guided direction, some work programs set up for them so they can really just experience your industry and your business to see if that's something that they're interested in pursuing as a career. In the internship grant, as you can imagine, it's pretty heavily used. And so we have an email here that is specifically designated for communications with the internship grant. So we would recommend that you use this. If you do happen to use the Wdtf email, we'll make sure it gets to the internship group. But this is a helpful first step, is that you use this email. And then here are some of the new parameters that you'll see when you go into your application. We are only going to be supporting up to 3 internships now. And so if you currently have any active internships and active grants, if you are already utilizing your 3 or have utilized your 3 for fiscal year 23, you won't be eligible to apply for more internship opportunities until that July timeframe, and we open up that first week of July, and then we'll be into fiscal year 24. Registered apprenticeship programs are eligible for up to 5 because we want to give them a little bit of a help in identifying potential individuals that may become apprentices, but rather than put all the time and effort and getting them registered as apprentice right off the bat, they have the opportunity that where they could use the internship to give them that short-term work experience, kind of as an initial preview of is it the right fit for the intern, is it the right fit for the business, and if it is, and they utilize the internship first, then they could roll over into being an apprentice. They could become a registered apprentice, and they can utilize that work experience that they gained as an intern and put it towards their requirements of being an apprentice. We are also asking that the businesses have an assigned mentor to each of their interns. We have found that that is a better experience for the intern, that they're getting that quality mentorship. And we're also limiting that a mentor can't have more than 2 interns at a time. And so you'll want to make sure that you have somebody identified that has work experience, professional background in the area of the internship so that they can speak from knowledge to be able to help that intern learn about that role. We're going to be able to reimburse up to $18 an hour, and that will need to be supported by some wage documentation. We do have a link to ONET right here that we have found to be a really user-friendly, easy to understand resource for the labor market wages here in Wyoming. And so if you do click in here, it'll take you right to ONET. And a really quick way to try and go through this is, let's just say I wanted to have an intern learning about a bookkeeping field. I could put that keyword in here and hit go, and it'll provide a whole list of things that may be under that category. And what you would need to do is look at these different offerings and see what is the best fit for what I'm thinking my intern is going to be doing and what their work experience is going to look like. And let's just say this is a good example for this. And so if I go ahead and click in here, it gives me a sense of this job opportunity, what that person would be doing, and what their responsibilities would be. Now, I would remind you that this is for an actual bookkeeping job. And so if you're bringing them on as an intern, we would expect that they are not going to be hired at the same level that you would be looking for the skills and knowledge of an employee. And so when you go through this description, further down, it will tell you the average wage of this job opportunity. And you'll want to make sure you select Wyoming and then hit go, and it will give you a range of wages for this job opportunity. It'll give you an option of the annual wage and the hourly. We would prefer that you pull the hourly information as your intern is going to be reimbursed on an hourly basis. I'm sorry, paid on an hourly basis. And because this is a learning experience and they're not necessarily getting hired for this job, we would expect that the wage for that intern is going to be on the lower end of this wage scale. And then you can certainly provide us a narrative of what that wage range that you're asking for and why. And then you'll want to take a screenshot of this. You'll want to make sure that the Wyoming section is included, the name of that job opportunity, and then this scale here. So you just do a quick screenshot and save it. That can be your supporting documentation for the wage that you're asking to pay your intern. Okay, so then we are also able to reimburse for up to 480 hours. And as we indicated, an internship is a short-term work experience. So this would give you, if the intern's working a full 40-hour week, about 12 weeks or 3 months of an internship. If you're anticipating they'd be working part-time, you could go up to 6 months for this internship grant. We do have an active link here where you can go in and start an application. You can certainly go in and create one and save it, and you can get out of it and then come back to it. And again, you'll want to make sure that if you are going to submit it, that it is between May 1st and May 7th. We won't be looking at applications that were before or after those dates. And we do have the rules posted here, which you do want to be familiar with for the full understanding of this grant. But again, just know that the maximum limits that are in the rules have been reduced to be able to meet our new parameters for us to be able to reopen. Here's another link to ONET, just again as a resource for that wage supporting documentation. If you have a really unusual job opportunity that doesn't fit in ONET, you can certainly go to job boards to see if there's something in Wyoming that's posted that's similar to give you a foundation of what that wage might look like. But again, it would be on the lower end of that scale since you're not hiring an employee, you're hiring an intern for a short-term work experience. Okay, so going back up, we have quite a few frequently asked questions that we've been able to build to help people understand this internship grant and who might be an intern and mentorship and all kinds of questions here. So I would highly recommend that you go here and take a look. This is a really good one that has come up about whether businesses should apply for all three at once, or can they space it out throughout the fiscal year? Yes to both. If you do all three and you want to say 3 summer interns and you want to apply for all of them all at the same time, you can certainly do that. And there's a place in the application where you would identify each internship and its own merits within the application, and then the calculations for those 3 internships during that time. If you wanted to do one now, and then one in the fall, and then one later in the year, then you would do separate applications for each one of those and submit them closer to the time frame of when you're anticipating getting those started. And so, like I said, I'll let you all go to these frequently asked questions and read through them, but you may have some of the questions as we go through that we can refer back to these as well. Our last 2 grants are the Pre-Hire Economic Development Grant and the Pre-Obligation Grant. And I'll start with this one. So the Pre-Hire Economic Development Grant was developed to help the businesses in Wyoming that aren't able to hire individuals because there's a skill set that's lacking in the workforce. And they've recognized that, and they recognize that if these people were trained, then they could hire them and bring them on board for that purpose. And so this is a grant that would be submitted by the training provider who has partnered with the employers who have identified that need and that shortage of workers. They've also partnered with their local economic development entity that can support that there is a need for that training and that they're behind this request. And then their local workforce center that helps in a lot of different ways. The local workforce center also can verify that there's a shortage in that skill set, because we do have Wyoming at Work, that is a labor management system that can help them identify potential employees with their certain skill sets. And if we don't have it, then they're like, yeah, we definitely need to get this training going, and we can help you get individuals into that training and help recruit people for that training need. And then once the training has completed, the Workforce Center can help get those trainees employed through these businesses that have identified that need, through other businesses, because the whole point of this grant is that we're training them so that they can get employment in that industry that they're trained within 90 days after completing the training. So this is a partnership application that we will have the link available for this. It'll be right here. Like I said, hopefully mid-May, towards the end of May, where you can go in and get started and get creating your application in order to submit it within those first 7 days of June. We do have the rules posted here, and those are also going to have some parameters that have been changed a little bit. And we'll try and get all of that on the website as soon as we're able to get those final decisions made. Then we have a pre-obligation grant. This is our last grant. This is available to Wyoming economic development entities that are working with businesses that are either wanting to move to Wyoming and need to build a workforce, or they're a business that's already here in Wyoming and they're wanting to expand and need to increase their workforce. And so this is a partnership application again. The economic development entity and the business that they're working with would apply as co-applicants, and they would have a general high-level view of what that training, the expenses would look like for them to build up that workforce. And then they're applying for us to obligate that funding and set it aside. And then when they're ready to actually do the training, they would have to do a second application for either the business training grant or the pre-hire grant, because then they can identify the actual training and what the cost is, and then they can access that funding that we have obligated and set aside. If you have questions or you want to know more about that, I'm happy to sit down and talk with you individually, because it is a little complicated, but we can certainly work through it. The amount of funding that could be pre-obligated is determined by this formula of up to 200, the equivalent of up to 200 trainees based on the preferred industry, if the business that the economic development entity is working with, what industry they're in. So we did a quick, fast overview of our website. As I said, we're under the business training and support unit. And so we do have some other programs under that unit as well. And we have links to those if you're interested in learning more about them. But we also have in our contact information, we again have the emails and the phone numbers to help people reach out with questions. And I'm going to open it up now to questions for what you may want to focus on directly. If we have things in the chat, We've been monitoring that. And so now we're going to open it up to you guys.
So we do have a few questions. The first one is, what were the old limits?
So the limits, and for those of you that have been around for some time, we've gone through several different variations of what those limits are. But the most recent old version from the emergency rules is we had, I'll go to the business training grants to kind of visualize that. Before, we were allowing up to $4,000 for trainees, and then those in the preferred industries were allowed up to $5,000, and we were allowing up to $200,000 before. So I still think that these limits are still very reasonable and will help a lot of businesses obtain training. May not cover all of your expenses, could certainly go towards some of it. And like I said, we are going to be monitoring each month on the available funding that we have each month. And so we may not be able to approve all of the applications that are being submitted.
Okay, and then they also want to know what the fiscal year is.
Our fiscal year is July 1st through June 30th. And so we'll be hitting fiscal year 24 this July.
Okay, and then an internship or business training grant question. What about a company that has facilities in multiple states? The headquarters are in Wyoming, so would the management and specialist team be eligible for the training grant, even if some live outside of Wyoming?
So I would recommend that you do take a look at the rules. One of the rules for the business training grant is that the trainees need to be working in Wyoming. We fully understand that we have some border states where people live, like Idaho and Colorado, but do come into Wyoming to work. And so those trainees could be eligible. Those that are working in other states or working remotely in other states would not be eligible.
Okay, and then an internship question. Is there a way to see how many internship grants we have for this fiscal year?
On the website, no, but if you would send us an email and give us that request, we can certainly look that information up and let you know how many you've had for this fiscal year.
Okay, and then can you apply for an internship grant in June?
So we will open the first week of June, and yes, you can apply. If you're asking if you can apply right now for an internship that starts in June, you can. We are going to be looking probably at applications that are starting sooner. And so one of the parameters, and I think it's under the frequently asked questions, is the timing. Okay, so who can be an intern? So we know that some people already have some of their summer interns already hired and working, and that's not necessarily a problem. However, we are looking at interns that are hired no earlier than 1 month prior to submission of the application. And so if you are applying right now with an internship that is starting in June, you can certainly do that. If you want to wait until June and apply for an internship that again is either starting in June or later, you can do that as well. So that was probably a roundabout answer, and I don't know if I answered your question fully.
I think you did, yeah. And there was another question that you answered in that, in the answer that you had for the other question. So right now there's no other questions in the chat.
Okay. Well, friends, you are free to raise your hand and ask questions. You can pop them into the chat. We are here to help you navigate through this and try and make it as easy as possible. And like I said, these frequently asked questions, we've compiled quite a few here that we have found to be very helpful for people. I would certainly recommend that you take a look at these. But I will stop and wait and see if anybody has more questions. hopefully you found this helpful. And like I said, we are hosting another one May 23rd. And so you are certainly welcome to register again if you have more questions. If there's people that you know that would like to learn more about this, you can have them go to our website and possibly register for this Q&A session. It was something else I was going to say and now I forgot. If you find that you have questions while you're working through the application, you can certainly email us and we will get back with you as soon as we are able. Phone calls are also a way that you can reach out to us. If, like I said, you can get into an application and if you get stuck or you feel you need to get out in order to get the answers that you need, you certainly can get out of it. It'll save and then you can get back in. And so we're here to help you and provide that technical assistance for these applications.
Hi, Sharon, it's Misty Taylor. My question is a little bit longer, so I thought I would ask it verbally. I have about 3 grants that were approved pre-changes. And we're in that period where they're doing the training right now and will be eligible for final reporting in the summer sometime. That will still be seamless, right? Like those that were approved before, none of them exceed the thresholds at this point, I don't think, but we're not anticipating that those would be interrupted or that we can expect to get funding for those, correct?
Right. The grants that were approved and under contract, we're still going to honor those. And so you can certainly take those through the course and to the end. And
okay.
Once those have completed and you're freed up of how many active internships you have, you'll still be in fiscal year 24. It sounds like when that happens. And so then you could apply again if you were interested in hosting some new internship opportunities. The ones you have right now are good to go. Yes.
Yeah, these were business like training. They were education courses that they were extended education courses. So
is this business training grants or internships?
Yeah, yes, business training.
Oh, okay. Yes. So your business training grants are also, if they were in contract, they are still being honored and everything that you need to do for that training goes forward. And then you'll just do everything for the final report and submit all the documents for that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. There was something I said that was about internship that wasn't necessarily answering Misty's question, but I did want to let everybody know that because the internship grant is so highly popular and is being used pretty heavily, we are limiting how many grants an intern can be hired under. And so typically, if you have an intern that is being supported by this internship grant, and it's finished and this person's a rock star and you want to keep them going and do another internship, you would not be able to apply for that person under the Wdtf internship grant again, because we just want to make sure that as many people as we can give that opportunity for that work experience, we want to help and not fund one person 2 or 3 times under the grant. I would recommend that you hire them if they're a rock star and are available, and then they become your employee. But if I know some are students and aren't eligible to be hired just yet, just keep that in mind that when you do host new internship opportunities in the new fiscal year, they would need to be for new individuals.
Okay, another question. May we ask about the applications that were submitted but not yet approved when the pause occurred? Will those be considered?
They are not going to be considered, again, because you can see that we did make quite a few changes to the parameters. And so if that training is still available and is still something that you are interested in going, you will have to create a new application for that, recognizing what those new parameters are.
And then another question that pertains more to kind of what you were saying before that question is basically, they're referring to your, can they hire the same person in an internship year after year, basically is what they're asking.
Right. And so we would say at this point, no, not under the internship grant funding, no. Another question that we get a lot is in regards to bringing somebody on board as an intern and then learning that maybe they're not the right fit for whatever reason, and they leave the internship. If you do have enough remaining hours in that internship where it's a benefit to you as a business and to somebody else coming in to utilize the remaining hours, you can certainly do that. But then again, it would be the same concept as, even though that person came in the middle of the internship and didn't necessarily get all those hours, we would not roll them into another internship just because they didn't get the full one previously. So we really are keeping an eye on those interns and who's been identified, just to not duplicate funding for one person.
I have two questions. Do you mind if I ask both?
Yes. Hi, Jaden.
Hi. So follow up with that. I believe one of the interns we're looking at has done funding through a different company. Would that exclude them because you're monitoring the person, even though it would be under our company for a different reason? It sounds like they were engineering with the internship over there. Here, we would be doing more estimating, project management, the business side of things. So it'd be a completely different change, but still, that would be for an individual who it looks like they did get that type of funding already.
So yes, that is a challenging question. I see all sides to that, and would like to have a little bit of time to think through that. It would kind of be the same component, is that they received an internship under this grant and got that work experience. And so, you know, is it really, I know he's learning new things and with a new business, but the whole point of this grant is to really try and introduce people to that work experience and to be able to get out there and gain some soft skills and things like that people have indicated that a lot of newer, younger adults need help with. I'm going to have to think through that, Jaden. It would go counteractive to everything that we were just saying about not being funded more than once under the Wdtf grant. And we would have to really look at that.
Okay. Definitely understandable. And then the second question is, I watched the video from, I want to say it was April 26th or 28th, and you mentioned that when doing the application, it should be someone that has the authority to sign off and finalize the information or the proposal. I personally don't have that authorization, but I've been doing all the research and meetings and going through this process. Is there some type of a transfer process where I could then transfer it to one of the partners or HR or whoever who would have that authorization? Or should I just try and set up time with them to work through that together?
So I think if what I'm hearing correctly is that you would be identified potentially as the primary contact for this grant and all communications, but you're not necessarily authorized to sign a legal document for this business.
Correct.
We've actually had that question a couple times, and it may be something that we can add to the application to allow for that. Would you give us a little bit of time to look into that, and then we could get back with you directly?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. You're asking some really hard ones today, Jaden.
Well, it's just such a great opportunity. You have to keep you guys on your toes.
I know, and they're really good that not only you're wondering, but I know many other people are too. So yeah, it's definitely making us dig a little deeper and think through this. So I appreciate it. I'm kind of thinking about that whole signature component. I think the main piece of where that stems from is that we recognize that like an office administrator could potentially fill out the application, but isn't necessarily in a position to sign for it. So I think we do need to have a section where somebody can be identified as that signatory and then have them be able to provide their signature as well. So we're definitely going to have to think through that. Can we help anybody else with other questions, either specifically for what you're trying to create or just anything in general? Do we have anybody on here that was interested in the pre-hire or the apprenticeship and want to know more or have feedback or anything for those grants? Okay. Great. Well, if we don't have any other questions, we can certainly give you 10 minutes of gift of time back to you. We will have this video recording posted in the next few days, so you're certainly welcome to go back. You can check out the other videos. You can sign up for another Q&A session if you have more questions. And then again, like I said, if you want to just contact us directly through email or phone call, you can do that as well. We really appreciate your time and the questions that you've asked, because that does help us go back to our website and potentially add more information just to make it more robust for everybody to get what they need from the website. So thank you. All right, well, we'll go ahead and stop then. You hope you have a wonderful day, and let us know if anything else comes up.